Snark Squad. Babes, we are back on our queen shit. Crowns. On. Rosé. Cord. And babes, we are here, locked and loaded and ready to talk. If you're watching, yes, we swapped the bunny ears for crowns. Because, babes, we are here for the queens. And honestly, this fits our soft girl vibe, so we are not mad about it.
It is a very heavy crown, but, you know, someone has to wear it while drinking this incredibly crisp rosé. It's Friday evening. The energy in the studio is borderline chaotic right now, and frankly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
We need to say this. We love this show. Babes, we do it for the Snark Squad, for the gals, for the guys, for the gays, for the days, for everyone. Raise a glass. Cheers.
Cheers. Clinking the glasses, adjusting the rhinestones. We are fully, entirely in the zone today.
We really are. And, you know, low-key, we love Easter.
Do we? Like, really?
Yes. Well, not the kids' party. If you love kids, babes, we love that for you. But the colors, the decor, the vibes, it kind of reminds us of Pride, the pastels, the overwhelming sense of like a Sunday brunch turned into an all-day high-stakes event. It is basically a trial run for June, right? The pageantry of it all.
That is actually the most unhinged, yet incredibly accurate transition I have ever heard. Easter as the pregame for Pride. I mean, I can see the vision, the outfits, the sheer amount of effort put into a single Sunday afternoon, the silent judgment of other people's floral arrangements. But if we're talking about the main event, right, if we were talking about the absolute pinnacle of the Pride experience, there is only one correct answer for the best festival.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going with this, and I am already preparing my rebuttal.
Yeah.
I can just take a sip of my drink.
Toronto. No contest. Toronto Pride is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Okay, I respectfully but aggressively disagree, but please state your case for the Frozen North.
It is about the sheer, undeniable scale of it. You have to understand the geography and, frankly, the urban planning involved. You are right in the middle of downtown Toronto, surrounded by these towering, monolithic glass and steel skyscrapers, and the streets are just flooded with millions of people. It is an absolute ocean of humanity.
I mean, crowds give me anxiety, but okay.
And the energy. Because the music is pumping from these massive industrial-grade sound systems, the bass literally echoes and bounces off the concrete in the bank buildings. It reverberates in your chest cavity. You are walking down Church Street, and it is absolute, unhinged chaos in the streets, but like in the best possible way. It is an entire major metropolis completely surrendering its infrastructure to the queer community for a weekend. It's monumental. It's a logistical marvel.
Okay, I hear the scale. I hear the bass echoing off the Canadian bank buildings. I respect the urban planning argument. But babes, Miami.
Miami is a swamp built on top of a larger swamp.
Miami is a lifestyle. It's the aesthetics. Toronto gives you concrete and logistics, but Miami gives you a full, immersive, chaotic fever dream. Let's talk about the outfits. Or should I say, the strategic, calculated lack thereof.
Right, the dental floss.
Exactly. It is a masterclass in the absolute bare minimum amount of fabric required by local ordinances. And the heat. The sweltering, oppressive, 99% humidity heat that makes absolutely everyone glisten. It melts your inhibitions. It makes the whole weekend feel like a gorgeous neon-lit hallucination.
A hallucination brought on by severe dehydration, zero shade, and $25 vodka sodas.
But you have to surrender to it. And the exclusive pool parties. You aren't just walking down a crowded street hoping to find a porta potty. You are at a rooftop pool in South Beach. The sun is setting over the ocean. The outfits are blindingly neon. The drama is palpable. And someone is definitely getting thrown into the shallow end in full drag. Miami gives you the full, unadulterated, glamorous chaos. It's a vibe you just cannot replicate in a place where people own winter coats.
I will concede that Miami wins on the sheer audacity of the swimwear and the sheer resilience required to keep a wig glued down in that humidity. But Toronto has the grit. It has the stamina. You have to survive Toronto Pride.
You have to survive Miami Pride, too, just from sunstroke and trying to keep your waterproof. Setting spray-drenched makeup from sliding down your neck into your cleavage. But speaking of surviving chaos, let's pivot to our listeners. Because the Snark Squad is going through it this week. DMs, we asked, you delivered. And babes, you need help.
Desperately. I mean, I have been reading these submissions, and the level of messiness in our inboxes is truly inspiring. I brought my reading glasses just to properly judge these situations. The lack of impulse control is staggering.
Okay, let's dive right into the messy advice segment. 3 snarkers, 3 life crises. I will bring the emotional validation and empathy, and you bring the, well, whatever it is you do.
The necessary pragmatic reality check.
The snark.
Okay.
Proceed.
Submission 1. Relationship drama. So she says, hey, Snark Squad. I've been dating this guy for 8 months. We have a sacred ritual. We watched the new Drag Race episode together every Friday night.
Yeah.
Last week, he said he was working late. I checked his iPad and found out he watched the new episode without me, pretended he hadn't, and gave fake, rehearsed reaction gasps when we watched it together on Saturday. What do I do?
Oh, wow. The sociopathy.
Right. Okay, I am going to react emotionally first because my heart is breaking for you. This is a total emotional betrayal. Validating your feelings right now, babe. It is not about the TV show. It is about the lie.
It's definitely about the lie.
It's a huge breach of trust. If he is willing to look you in the eyes on a Saturday night and give a fake rehearsed gasp when a queen gets eliminated, like he literally acted out surprised, what else is he faking? This is a sign of much deeper communication issues. You need to sit him down, use I feel statements, and explain that your sacred space, your ritual, was violated.
I feel statements? Absolutely not. You do not negotiate with terrorists. No, I mean it. This is a sociopath in training. If a man can fake a gasp during a lip sync, he is capable of treason. He is capable of lying about a mortgage. Here is the practical, shady advice for you. Do not confront him with your feelings. That gives him the power to gaslight you and say, it's just a TV show.
Which he totally would do.
Exactly. Instead, you engage in tactical warfare. You change the Wi-Fi password immediately. You log him out of Paramount Plus, MTV, whatever streaming service you use, log him out of all devices, and then right before the grand finale airs next month, you text him the winner. You spoil it completely. You burn the bridge while watching the fire.
That is so toxic. You can't just ruin the finale for him.
He ruined the foundation of the relationship. An eye for an eye, a spoiler for a spoiler, make him suffer the consequences of his own deceptive viewing habits.
I am sweating just thinking about sending that text. But honestly, if he faked the gasp, maybe he deserves it. Okay, let's move to submission 2, friendship betrayal. She says, my supposed bestie threw this incredibly extravagant catered pride brunch last weekend. I saw it all over Instagram. The custom floral arrangements, the signature cocktails. Everyone in our friend group was there. Everyone except me. I wasn't invited, and she hasn't brought it up. Help.
Oh, the catered exclusion.
Laugh, babe. Okay, my heart hurts for you. Being left out of a monumental friend group event, especially a curated aesthetic event like a catered brunch, is a very specific type of pain. It triggers all those middle school rejection feelings.
It really does.
So you need to handle this with maturity. You need to have a sit-down conversation in a neutral location, like a quiet, unassuming coffee shop. Express your hurt feelings. Say, when I saw the photos on Instagram, I felt excluded and confused about where our friendship stands. Communicate your boundaries and see if she is willing to take accountability for icing you out.
A quiet coffee shop. To discuss a catered pride brunch betrayal? Absolutely not. She wanted a spectacle. You give her a spectacle.
Wait, what are you suggesting?
Here is the reality TV move.
Yeah.
You do not talk about your feelings. You wait until her next heavily curated event. You show up anyway. You arrive an hour late looking 10 times better than the host. I'm talking full Miami Pride glamour.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. You act like the invitation getting lost in the mail was a hilarious anecdote that you are generously forgiving her for. You drink all of her most expensive top-shelf liquor, and then, very loudly to a mutual friend, you casually mention how the floral arrangements look a little, pedestrian, a little off-season. You destroy her from the inside out.
You are an absolute menace. Show up uninvited and critique the decor.
It establishes dominance. If you let her ice you out quietly, she wins. If you go to a coffee shop and cry, she wins because she has the emotional high ground of pity. If you show up looking like $1,000,000 and drink her Grey Goose, you win. It's simple reality TV math.
Remind me to never ever cross you in this lifetime, because that is terrifying. But speaking of people ruining their lives over an illusion, let's move to submission 3. Career and life chaos.
Let's hear it.
They say, I have a very stable, boring corporate job in accounting with great benefits. But I'm obsessed with reality TV. I really want to quit my job, move to Los Angeles, and become a full-time reality TV recapper and influencer. Am I crazy?
Yes. Next question.
No, wait, let me give my advice first.
Okay.
First of all, follow your passion. Life is way too short to sit in a beige cubicle looking at Excel spreadsheets if your soul is begging you to analyze the housewives. Live your truth. Embrace the creative journey. The universe rewards those who take the leap and bet on themselves. If you feel that spark, you have to fan the flame.
The universe also rewards people who can pay their rent and afford copays. Let's dial back the West Hollywood delusion for a second. Do you actually have the charisma for this? Being obsessed with watching reality TV does not mean you are entertaining to watch talking about reality TV. That is a very specific, highly demanding skill set. You need stamina, comedic timing, and an editor's eye.
But they could learn.
Here is the reality check. Keep the day job, keep the dental insurance, start your TikTok or your podcast on the weekends, build the audience while someone else pays for your health coverage. Until the views actually translate into money that pays for your groceries, you do not quit the accounting job. Do not ruin your life over a perceived aesthetic.
Okay, but seriously, I have to push back here. Are we being too harsh? Or do people just genuinely need a reality check before they blow up their lives? Because sometimes absolute blinding delusion is the required first step to success. You have to be delusional to think you can make it in entertainment.
Delusion is only the first step if it's backed by relentless, undeniable talent and a financial safety net. Otherwise, delusion is just a fast track to moving back into your childhood bedroom and explaining to your parents why your TikTok account about Lisa Vanderpump didn't go viral. The Snark Squad needs to hear the truth.
Well, the truth is, we live for the mess. And speaking of a complete lack of reality checks and absolute delusion, let us dive right into the absolute chaos of episode 14.
The fallout, the improv, the eliminations. I am so ready.
Let's set the scene. Snark Squad. Imagine this. We are back in the workroom. The lipstick messages have barely been wiped off the mirror. The aftermath of Jane Doan's elimination is hanging in the air like thick, suffocating fog. Ask yourself this. What happens to the human psyche when the biggest threat in a room is suddenly removed? Because this week, we saw a masterclass in psychological warfare.
Jane was the frontrunner, the undeniable powerhouse of the season. Eliminated right before the finish line. Nature abhors a vacuum, and reality TV competition abhors a power vacuum even more.
And the reactions in the room were wild. You have Nini Coco, who sent Jane packing in that Lady Gaga lip sync, walking into the workroom just basking in the glory. She literally stated out loud to the room, with a straight face, that she deserved a gift basket from the other queens for taking out the biggest roadblock to the crown.
It was pure audacity, the sheer nerve to walk in and demand tribute because you eliminated the competition's biggest threat. But analytically speaking, she wasn't wrong. She did them all a massive favor. By taking out Goliath, she handed the rest of them a statistical path to the finale.
But the emotional toll. Darlene Mitchell was devastated. She was crying, and not just performative TV crying, but real, shoulder-heaving tears saying that Jane kept her grounded. Darlene is this campy, Midwestern, emotionally open country queen, and Jane was her anchor in this high-stress environment. And while Darlene is mourning the loss of her emotional support sister, you have Myki Meeks sitting in the corner, literally doing the math in real time. You can see the gears turning behind her eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Myki looks around the room, realizes the giant is dead, and suddenly it hits her. Wait, I am the undisputed frontrunner. She has 3 wins. Nini and Juicy have 2 wins, but multiple bottom placements dragging down their averages. Darlene has 1 win. On paper, the crown is suddenly Myki's to lose. The entire power dynamic of the workroom shifted in the span of 30 seconds.
And the internet. The internet lost its collective mind. I was reading the Reddit threads, and fans were literally calling for wellness checks on themselves and on Jane. The shock was palpable. People were spiraling.
It was the definition of an internet meltdown. But what's fascinating here is how Jane handled it post-show. While people were panicking online, Jane was out there living her best, most unbothered life. She actually attended Darlene's wedding, which is just the sweetest reality TV crossover event, and her merch team, absolute geniuses.
The merch. She dropped that t-shirt with just the word "don't" in that giant black font, styled exactly like those 80s Frankie Says Relax shirts. It sold out immediately. She monetized her own shocking elimination brilliantly. But it brings up this massive conspiracy theory that the fans have been obsessing over, the red dress curse.
Yes, let's unpack the lore for the Snark Squad, because this is where psychology meets producer manipulation.
So Jane went home wearing a spectacular, floor-length, scarlet red dress. Fans immediately clocked that former contestant Susie Tude, who was also a massive frontrunner and fan favorite in her season, was shockingly eliminated right before the finale, also wearing a scarlet red dress. It's become this superstitious lore.
It has. But if we pull back the curtain and look at the mechanism of reality TV, we have to ask, was Jane's exit a product of a curse, or was it a masterclass in producer manipulation? Think about the editing room. Producers know that a season without a shocking elimination feels stagnant. They need a water cooler moment.
They really do.
So when a frontrunner happens to stumble, and they happen to be wearing something as visually striking as a blood red gown, it is just too good for a story editor to pass up. Did they see an opportunity to create the most shocking television moment of the year by letting the frontrunner fall, clearing the path for a more unpredictable finale?
That is the eternal question of reality TV. Is it fate? Or is it a producer in a headset pulling the strings to boost the ratings? But they didn't have time to mourn for long, because RuPaul walks in and drops the challenge announcement. Good morning, bitches.
A live morning talk show, in pairs.
No scripts, real-time banter, breaking news segments, celebrity interviews. Doing live improv without a script is like trying to build an airplane while it's already in free fall. You have no safety net.
And they had to pick their own partners, which is always a recipe for immediate, excruciating social tension. It's like high school dodgeball, but with drag queens.
Darlene and Myki immediately lock eyes across the room and pair up. They had that incredible chemistry during the Rusical challenge, so it made sense. But that left Nini and Juicy, and the tension was so thick you could cut it with a heavily contoured cheekbone. Juicy clearly wanted Myki. Why? Because Juicy outshined Myki in the RDR live sketch comedy challenge earlier in the season. Juicy knew she could steamroll Myki in a comedy setting, but Myki preferred Darlene's grounded, character-driven approach.
It makes perfect sense from Myki's strategic perspective. When you are doing live improv, you want a scene partner who is going to build a foundation with you. You want someone who plays tennis, hitting the ball back. You don't want someone who's going to constantly try to flip over you literally and figuratively. Juicy relies on heavy, chaotic, scene-stealing energy. Darlene relies on character and listening. Myki made the calculated choice to go with stability.
But think about the entire season's trajectory. What is the central theme of this episode? It is the battle between control and chaos. Nini and Myki are queens of control. Juicy is the queen of chaos. And Darlene sits somewhere in the middle, using her emotions to guide her. But look at the challenges this season. We are at the top 4. Usually, we get the traditional top 4 music video, where they just have to look gorgeous and get their choreography marks, while the sudden switch to live daytime TV.
That is exactly what I was looking at. What is missing from the curriculum? No music video, no traditional ball challenge, which is a staple for proving drag excellence across multiple categories, and, perhaps most mysteriously, the complete disappearance of the Talk to Your Childhood photo segment.
The childhood photo. I usually cry every single time. They just hold up a picture of themselves at 5 years old in the Batman t-shirt, standing in a kiddie pool, and tell themselves it gets better. Where did the trauma mining go?
It completely vanished, and instead they replaced it with high-stakes, unscripted live television. It feels like a corporate mandate. The producers, or the network, wanted to test their actual hosting chops, their ability to think on their feet rather than just their ability to memorize an 8-count routine. They are looking for a brand ambassador, someone who could actually sit on a daytime panel on a major network and not get the show canceled.
Corporate synergy at its finest. But before they had to face the live cameras, we got the traditional tic-tac lunches with RuPaul. This is that intimate sit-down where Ru paints their portraits and gets to the emotional core of each queen.
Let's just address the elephant in the room regarding those portraits. We all love the sentiment, but we must aggressively mock the execution. Those paintings were obviously pre-painted by a production assistant in a windowless back room.
Oh, 100%.
The idea that Ru is casually throwing down an oil masterpiece, capturing their exact likeness, while simultaneously conducting a deep psychological interview and nibbling on a single orange Tic Tac is the level of camp delusion we signed up for.
It's so incredibly fake, and I love every single second of it. I want one of those fake paintings in my house. But the conversations were genuinely revealing. Let's talk about Nini first. She was discussing her past life, her actual day job as a mechanical engineer. And she used the phrase, calculating loads.
Which is a very real structural engineering term, but in a drag context, it's hilarious. But think about how mechanical engineering actually applies to drag. When we talk about calculating loads, we're talking about weight distribution, tension, structural integrity. When a queen is wearing a 30-pound rhinestone gown with a cantilevered shoulder pad, she is literally using physics to keep that garment from collapsing. Nini applies the logic of an HVAC system to glamour. She is a taskmaster. She is about precision and angles.
And the advice Ru gave her was so poignant. Ru told her she needs to bring more humanity to that taskmaster vibe. Because drag isn't just about the perfect blueprint or the flawless execution of a scene. It's about the heart beating inside the garment. If it's too perfect, it's cold.
Exactly. Then we had Juicy, who really opened up. She talked about her strained but thankfully rekindled relationship with her father. Growing up in a machismo-Cuban household in Miami, doing drag, pursuing dance, that is a massive cultural hurdle to overcome. It gave us so much necessary context for why Juicy dances with such aggressive, undeniable passion. She has had to physically fight for her space.
It grounds her. It takes her from just being the stunt queen who does flips to being an artist with a deeply rooted story.
Then we had Myki, who had this beautiful realization of her own confidence. She talked about feeling like a big fish back in Orlando and how she had to learn to swim in this massive, terrifying ocean of the competition. The big fish, small pond syndrome is real, but she adapted. She learned how to swim with the sharks, and now she's leading the pack with 3 wins.
But the absolute emotional climax of the Tic Tac lunches was Darlene. She shared her sobriety journey. She talked about how getting sober allowed her to finally live comfortably in her own skin, to not rely on substances to find her joy or to mask her insecurities in her drag persona. And RuPaul was brought to visible, unscripted tears.
And that right there is a massive feather in Darlene's cap. If you can break through the polished exterior of a television host who has done this for decades, if you can make RuPaul cry real tears of empathy and connection, you have secured a piece of real estate in his heart. It transcends the challenges. It's about human connection.
So armed with their emotional breakthroughs and their fake oil paintings, the queens hit the set for the morning show performances. They had Ross Matthews acting as their live producer in the booth, feeding them lines and reacting in real time.
The 8th hour, Juicy and Nini, a literal case study in chaos.
The vibe they went for was, in their own words, exaggerated versions of ourselves. They literally said during planning that they bonded over the fact that neither of us wear wigs and we both do flips, which, I'm sorry, is a terrifying foundation for a talk show. That is not a concept. That is a threat.
It was a disaster waiting to happen from the moment they sat down. The fundamental misunderstanding of the assignment was glaring. Juicy relied incredibly heavily on sexual innuendos and direct, explicit, bottoming jokes on a morning show concept at a theoretical 8 a.m. broadcast.
Ross Matthews was visibly cringing in the producer booth. You cannot go full Jerry Springer when people are supposedly eating their Cheerios.
This is where we get back to the mechanics of performance. Daytime TV requires a very specific, nuanced type of innuendo. If you are going to talk about a throuple on a morning show, you don't use graphic anatomy terms, you call it a 3-person bicycle, you wink at the audience, you let the adults get the joke while it goes over the kids' heads, you don't hit them over the head with a sledgehammer. Juicy lacks that pop culture daytime TV literacy. She only knows how to operate in a late-night club setting.
They did, surprisingly, nail the teleprompter tongue twister segment. I thought that was going to be their absolute downfall given the chaos, but they read it perfectly. However, the celebrity interview was an unmitigated disaster.
Zane Phillips was the guest.
Beautiful, gorgeous, structurally perfect Zane Phillips, who for some reason looked terrible. He came out in this awful pink shirt and these horrific baggy trash bag-looking pants. He looked like he was dressed in the dark by a toddler with a grudge.
It was a bizarre styling choice that distracted from the interview. He did eventually change into shorts for a thigh master workout segment, which salvaged the visual appeal slightly. But the interview itself with Juicy and Nini was entirely unstructured, messy, and totally derailed by Juicy trying to turn every single question into a flirtatious, deeply uncomfortable trap.
It was painful to watch.
Yeah.
Snark Squad. Think about the last time you were in a high-stakes meeting where the presentation broke or someone asked a weird question. Did you freeze and lean into inappropriate jokes like Juicy? Or did you pivot? Because pivoting is what we saw in the 9th hour. Myki and Darlene.
A total 180-degree turn.
A
masterclass in control.
The chemistry. It was pure Kathy Lee and Hoda. It was giving Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler in the movie Big Business. They understood the assignment down to their bones.
They established a rhythm immediately. Their Ask Abby banter segment felt incredibly natural. They listened to each other. They paused for laughter. They didn't step on each other's punchlines. They passed the ball back and forth effortlessly.
And when things went wrong, because it's live TV, things always go wrong, they knew exactly how to handle it. The teleprompter completely failed during their segment. Nini and Juicy would have spiraled. But Myki delivered this brilliant off-the-cuff ad-lib. She just looked at Darlene completely deadpan and said, "If you spit on me one more time." It broke the tension instantly. It acknowledged the live format without breaking character, and it kept the audience laughing.
That is the defining difference between an amateur and a seasoned host. You use the mistakes as material. You don't fight the chaos. You incorporate it into your control. And then they brought out Zane Phillips.
Instead of doing a boring workout segment, they decided to give Zane a drag makeover on live TV.
And the result was horrifying.
It was an aesthetic disaster. They put him in this look that can only be described as Kristi Noem's husband attending a Halloween party. As a terrifying, chaotic Carol Burnett, they put a wig on top of a wig.
It was aesthetically atrocious, yes, but procedurally, it was fantastic television. They were bantering with him. They were having fun. The interview flowed naturally while they were putting aggressive, unblended lipstick on his cheekbones. They killed the challenge, even if they massacred Zayn's impossibly handsome face in the process.
Which brings us to the results. Ru declares Myki and Darlene the undeniable winners of the challenge. A double win, completely deserved, which means Nini and Juicy are in the bottom two. It is a battle of the two queens who struggled most with control versus chaos.
The lip sync. The song is Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl by Chappell Roan, an absolute banger of a pop track that requires precision and attitude.
And we have a tale of two completely different approaches. Juicy comes out in this extremely heavy, ornate, cumbersome gold gown. But as soon as the beat drops, she strips it off to reveal this sleek neon green performance outfit underneath. She is ready for war. She starts doing her signature flips, the tricks, the acrobatics. She is launching herself into the stratosphere.
Meanwhile, Nini is physically trapped. She is wearing this restrictive, tightly pointed, architectural masterpiece of a gown. She physically cannot do a split or a flip without snapping her garment in half and injuring herself.
But she delivers pure face. She embodies the pop, robotic, modern spirit of the Chappell Roan song perfectly, using just her eyes, her lips, and the micro-expressions in her upper body. She channels the exact energy of the track without moving her legs.
The result: RuPaul saves Nini. Juicy Love Dion, arguably the best pure dancer and acrobat in the history of Drag Race, is eliminated right before the finale.
Okay, debate time. I need your analytical take on this. Did Nini actually win that lip sync? Because Juicy was defying gravity. Juicy was giving us an Olympic floor routine. Or did production just need to save Juicy for next week's LaLaPaRuZa SmackDown to ensure absolute chaos?
It is entirely the latter. Let's be analytical and look at the producer math. Juicy's tricks are phenomenal, undeniably world-class, but this was her fourth time in the bottom. We have seen the flips. We know the routine. Nini brought a fresh, nuanced, heavily controlled interpretation of the song that didn't rely on stunts. However, the producers aren't blind. They know the LaLaPaRuZa lip sync tournament is coming next week. They know they need a stunt queen to anchor that episode and provide viral clips for social media. Eliminating Juicy now, only to immediately feed her into a lip sync tournament next week where she can fight her way back, is producing 101. It is a calculated sacrifice for a larger narrative payoff.
It's brilliant and devious, and I am obsessed with how messy it is. All right, let's seamlessly pivot to segment 1, Runway Royalty, because we have to talk about these clothes. The category was Drag Excellence. We had guest judge Teyana Taylor on the panel, who looked breathtaking, by the way. She gave us everything. Let's rank these looks from worst to best, and we are going to be conversational and messy about it.
I will happily start with the worst. It has to be Juicy Love Dion.
Absolutely, I love her. But the concept was, well, profoundly confusing.
She was dripping in these heavy gold coins and massive, clunky chains. It was meant to be opulent, clearly aiming for a rich, dripping in gold aesthetic, but it ended up looking shabby chic. There was simply too much fabric swallowing her frame. She lost her silhouette entirely. She looked like the witch from Into the Woods right before the magical transformation reveal. It was costumey in the wrong way.
It felt heavy, and not in a high-fashion editorial way.
Right.
It felt weighed down, like she was wearing a very expensive set of curtains.
Coming in at third place, we have Meeks.
Now, the blue velvet she used was beautiful. The fabric was rich. The space and astrology appliques scattered across the gown were a nice, whimsical touch that fit her brand.
But the structure. Let's talk about the structure. She had this bizarre, stiff, coat hanger-like Saturn ring structure built around her waist and shoulders. What was the historical or fashion nod here? An astrology coat hanger? A satellite dish. It ruined a perfectly good silhouette. If you are going to build a cage or a planetary ring around a gown, it needs to be seamless. The engineering has to be invisible. This looked like she got caught in a dry cleaner's rack on the way to the runway and just decided to walk with it. It was distracting and cheapened the velvet.
It really was. It pulled focus from her face. Which brings us to second place, Darlene Mitchell. And this hurts me to say because I am rooting for her.
It was opulent. It was giving wealthy 70s Carol Burnett mixed with Reba McEntire attending a charity gala. The fabric was rich, the construction was solid, the tailoring was impeccable.
It lacked her signature Darlene essence. She is the self-proclaimed trash queen. She is known for her exaggerated, cartoonish padding and her massive teased blonde hair. In this look, she abandoned the padding, she changed the hair to a sleek updo, and she looked like she was playing a wealthy character on a daytime soap opera rather than presenting her own ultimate drag excellence. It was a beautiful gown, but it wasn't her drag, it was someone else's.
Exactly. Drag excellence shouldn't be a departure from your brand. It should be the ultimate refined distillation of your specific point of view, which is why Nini Coco takes the top spot, best look of the night, and perhaps the best look of the entire season.
Jaw-dropping. Completely handmade by her, the skill level is terrifying.
This is where the mechanical engineering background sings. The construction of it was spectacular. It featured these severely pointed, structured shoulders that defied gravity, and the piece de resistance, a rigid, sculpted breastplate that visually resembled motorcycle handlebars. And those handlebars directly referenced her signature pointed eyelash makeup that she's worn as her trademark all season. It was conceptual, it was architectural, it tied perfectly into her brand, and it was flawlessly executed.
Teyana Taylor literally asked to take it home off her body. That is the highest compliment you can get from a fashion icon. But here is the central thesis of our entire discussion today. Let's connect the dots. If Nini can conceptualize and build an architectural masterpiece like that, using her mechanical engineering background to control every single stitch and angle, why is she struggling so deeply to bring that same high-concept energy into the comedy and acting challenges?
Because engineering is about absolute control, and comedy is about the surrender of control. Nini can sit in a workroom for 40 hours perfecting a seam, calculating the load-bearing tension of a shoulder pad, and mitigating every single risk. But improv, you cannot calculate banter. You have to react in the moment, listen, and embrace the chaos. Nini struggles when she cannot plan the blueprint. When the teleprompter fails, she doesn't know how to build a new bridge on the fly.
That is exactly it. Control versus chaos. You can tailor a gown, but you can't tailor a live audience reaction. Speaking of which, let's move right into segment 2. Performance power rank. Based on everything we just broke down, who dominated, who flopped, and honestly, whose look would we actually wear out of the house?
Who dominated is crystal clear. Myki Meeks.
Meteoric rise. From the bottom to the top.
Let's trace the trajectory, because the data is fascinating. She bombed the episode 6 talent show. She was universally rated last. It was a disaster. Since then, she has been on an absolute tear, 3 challenge wins, a wildly successful, nuanced Drew Barrymore snatch game, and now she just proved she has entirely natural, charismatic daytime hosting chops. She's peaking at the exact right moment in the competition arc.
And we have to give massive flowers to Darlene as well. She is the undeniable emotional anchor of the season. Her smile lights up the room, she grounds the chaotic energy of the other queens, and her chemistry with Myki is lightning in a bottle. But who flopped? Who let the chaos win?
Juicy Love Dion.
It was so hard to watch. I was literally hiding behind my hands.
She fundamentally did not understand the daytime TV tropes. As we discussed, you cannot bring 2 a.m. late-night club humor to a morning show format. It shows a severe lack of adaptability. She has one gear, high energy, physical, explicit, and she couldn't shift into the breezy, conversational, winking gear required for the challenge. She refused to read the room.
All right, the most important question for us. Whose look would we wear from this episode? And I mean wear in real life.
The runway looks or the challenge looks?
Any of them. I am immediately claiming Nini's architectural motorcycle masterpiece.
Yeah.
I want the drama. I want to walk into a Whole Foods wearing severely pointed shoulders and a rigid breastplate. I want people to part like the Red Sea when I enter the produce aisle. I want to look like a glamorous villain buying organic avocados.
I love the delusion. I fully support this vision. For me, ironically, I want Zane Phillips' terrible baggy trash bag pants from the morning show.
What? Why? They were hideous.
That's just to make a statement. To prove that I can wear the most objectively hideous, poorly tailored garment ever constructed for television and still walk with the unearned, absolute confidence of a guest star. It's high camp. It's about the attitude, not the fabric.
You are sick. I love it. Let's get into segment 3. Shade assassin. We need to pick the 3 absolute shadiest moments of the entire episode, the moments that made us gasp.
I will start with moment 1, the queen of delusion. We touched on it earlier, but it warrants repeating. Nini Coco walking into the workroom after eliminating Jane Doe and demanding a literal gift basket from the surviving queens. The sheer audacity to ask for a reward for doing your job in a lip sync. It was shady, it was bold, and it established dominance over the grieving room immediately.
Moment 2 has to be the producer's disdain. I'm talking about Ross Matthews sitting in that producer booth during the morning show.
The editing team had an absolute field day with him. They painted a masterpiece of shade.
Every single time Juicy made an inappropriate bottoming joke on a morning television set, they cut straight to Ross. The highly edited, exaggerated eye rolls, the physical cringing, him pulling his headset off in despair. The editors used him as the ultimate shade assassin to highlight exactly how badly Juicy was bombing. They weaponized his reactions.
And moment 3 goes to the fans, the Reddit truth tellers.
The Snark squad out in the wild doing the investigative journalism.
Reading the live reaction threads online, the fans immediately clocked the production riggery. They were dropping deep analytical comments noting that Juicy was definitely 100% sacrificed this week, just so the upcoming LaLaPaRuZa would have an unstoppable stunt queen to keep the live audience entertained. They saw right through the matrix. They understand the mechanics of reality TV just as well as the producers do.
So, Snark Squad, I pose this to you. What does this all mean? Are the shadiest moments coming from the queens on the stage, the editing team in post-production, or the fans sitting at home in their sweatpants analyzing every frame?
It's an ecosystem of shade. The queens provide the raw material, the editors mold it into a narrative weapon, and the fans deploy it online. It's a beautiful, terrifying, symbiotic relationship of snark. You cannot have one without the other.
I am obsessed with that theory.
Yeah.
All right, we are round in the corner to segment 4. Who is taking the crown? We need some early predictions for the Queen of Queens. Let's look at the stats.
The track records speak volumes. Let's look at the data. Myki has 3 challenge wins, plus she won the mini challenge this week. She has demonstrated comedy, acting, and hosting. On paper, statistically, she is the clear, undisputed frontrunner.
Darlene has 2 wins, but more importantly, she has RuPaul's emotional backing. She made the host cry real tears. Do not underestimate the immense power of narrative and emotional connection in a reality competition. A good story often beats a perfect report card.
And Nini has 2 wins, but she has been in the bottom 3 times. Statistically speaking, queens with 3 bottom placements rarely, if ever, take the crown. The math is not in her favor.
But we have the massive LaLaPaRuZa factor next week, a massive lip-sync SmackDown tournament. And they finally fixed the dead energy from season 17 because they brought back a live audience. The queens are going to be performing for real people, not just cameras.
A live audience changes the entire chemical makeup of a performance. Queens feed off that energy. It will favor the chaos queens like Juicy. But did you catch the specific detail about the music for next week? All the songs for the SmackDown are RuPaul songs.
I saw that. I love a Ru track. It's going to be so campy.
It's a recession indicator. Let's be real about the economics of television. They used an all RuPaul playlist because they didn't want to pay the exorbitant licensing fees for 9 different real pop songs for an entire episode. It is a massive budget cut disguised as brilliant brand synergy.
You are so cynical, always looking at the spreadsheets, but I'm just so genuinely excited reading the fan reactions about seeing the eliminated queens return. We get to see Mia, Kenya, Mandy Mango, Discord, Vita, Briar. It is going to be an absolute bloodbath of lip syncing. And my prediction, I am fully rooting for the emotional journey of Darlene. I think she is going to pull a Nymphia wind. I think she has been strategically hiding her true lip-syncing abilities, playing the sweet country queen, and she's going to shock everyone with unexpected choreography in the finale and snatch the crown.
I appreciate your romanticism and your love for an underdog story, but I strictly back the data. Myki's track record is undeniable. She has the momentum and the versatility. However, I secretly want Nini to steal it just for the fashion. If she can build that architectural motorcycle dress from scratch, she deserves a crown to match it.
The mess, the differing opinions, I love it. We will see how the LaLaPaRuZa shakes up the entire board next week. Crown energy, rosé flowing, pride nostalgia, drag race excellence. Ask yourself, who are you rooting for? What was your favorite runway look? And babes, Toronto or Miami Pride?
We know exactly where we stand, but we want the absolute chaos in the comments. Let us have it.
Remind, rate, review, subscribe. Send submissions for our messy advice segment. Send this to your most fabulous bestie. Thank the Snark Squad for riding with us through the chaos.
And before we sign off, leave this thought in your head. If RuPaul purposefully uses an all RuPaul playlist next week just to save the music department's budget, does the LaLaPaRuZa actually exist to test the queen's skills? Or does it exist purely to protect the network's bottom line? Are we watching a fierce drag competition or an expertly disguised masterclass in corporate synergy? Think about that next time you hear a sickening beat drop.
Stay shady, stay royal, and we'll see you on the Snark side.